I am not trying to contribute to society at all. I'm not, I don't want to contribute to society, and I don't care about contributing to society. Now that I got this job at the car wash, I'm seeing a lot of comments on my videos talking about I'm doing the right thing. I finally decided to work. And I don't know if any comments have specifically used the phrase contributing to society or anything like that, but I can just tell from the way that certain people are commenting and from what I'm hearing from people in my real life, my mom and dad basically, they're talking about me getting a job as if it's as if it's a moral thing. Like I've made the morally correct choice to work and contribute to society. And it's like the society that I live in, I truly believe is sick. It's on a downfall. And I don't even mean that in the sense that, society's going to crumble in that it's going to be like an apocalyptic scenario or we're going to get conquered in a war or something like that. I don't mean it like that at all. But when I say our society is sick and our society is crumbling around us, I'm just saying it's like it doesn't benefit me personally to contribute to this society. I get nothing in return. So it's like the society isn't working for me. And going way back into political theory, back in the 1700s, there was a guy, Jean Jacques Rousseau, who originally came up with this concept of the social contract. And basically, it's the idea that the reason that people in a society contribute to that society while, because to contribute to society, you do have to make certain sacrifices at your own expense, because nobody wants to go to war or go to work even. Nobody truly enjoys, building bridges or constructing roads or whatever. But the reason that so many people throughout history have always been willing to do that is because you make some personal sacrifices, but in return, what you get is all the benefits that you could expect from being a member of that larger group. Those benefits being usually things like, you have access to women. That is a huge one. Probably the biggest driving force. That's the biggest thing in the social contract that men of society have always gotten and have always expected, rightfully so. It's the biggest driving force a man could possibly have. So, the social construct was you make these personal sacrifices, you're willing to go to war, you're willing to dig ditches and build bridges so you can live in the society where you have access to women and you can have a wife and have a family and you'll be protected by other members of society because you yourself are willing to go to war for this society. So you and your family also have protection by the strength of the force of all the members of society. And then you also get things, you get access to certain services that are a part of that society. Things like there may be some form of police force or firefighters. If your house catches on fire, some people are going to come and help you put it out for free. Or, I don't know historically how it's always worked. Maybe in some societies, even today, maybe you have to pay the firefighters, but they're there. That's part of the social contract. But right now, in the US, and I think most of the world really, especially the Western world, the social contract is just not being upheld by the society. And each individual person, the way it is now, there's just so much inequality. And it's not based on the things that all these, super liberal progressives want you to think that the inequality is based on, right? It's not that straight white men are the only ones benefiting and minorities and women are just held down and can't get nothing out of society. No, it's not that at all. And I'm not saying it's the opposite of that either, but what it is it's a lot of inequality. And basically the way it works is this. If you are an attractive person, male or female, no matter what race, if you are attractive, especially if you are highly attractive, but even if you're just like, above average, then you will benefit greatly from this society. The social contract works for you, right? You do benefit from the social contract because you get all the basic services that everybody gets. Even ugly people pretty much get the basic services. Like you can use the public sidewalk, right? But only attractive people, especially when it comes to men, only attractive men in this society actually have access to women. It's very difficult, not impossible, but very difficult and rare for an unattractive man to be able to find a woman in this society. No matter how hard he works, no matter how successful he is, no matter if he goes to war and literally fights for the country, what does he get in return? Not much. Not even barely enough money to get by. And that's the other part of this. Part of the social contract, like, why would you contribute to society in the sense of, I'll just break it down to its most basic terms. Why would anybody work a hard job when you don't even get paid enough to own your own house? You don't even get paid enough to pay your own bills. And with how out of control inflation has been in the past 5 or 6 years, you need to make probably $25 an hour at a minimum to really be able to support yourself at a very basic level, own your own house, own a vehicle, and maybe be able to start a family. Although on $25 an hour, if you're trying to support a wife or, maybe she's working for the same amount, but if you're trying to support a child on that, that's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very difficult. You're barely going to be making ends meet. You're barely going to be scraping by. And it's just where is the social contract? I'm not going to bother talking about capitalism and communism, socialism, anything like that. I think I've mentioned before that I don't know what the best economic system is, and I'm not going to try to act like I know what the best economic system is. And I don't even know all the rules of how the economy I live in works, okay? I'm not trying to act like I'm some kind of economic analyst, like I'm some kind of quant or something, because I'm not. I'm not doing any kind of mathematical economic analysis here. I'm just saying it makes sense that the social contract, obviously, in the society we live in, especially the United States of America, when you think of American ideals, philosophically, what are the principles that this country is founded on? And the first things that come to my mind is personal freedom and, personal freedom. That is the ultimate American ideal. And I think that is a noble ideal to found a country out of. Personal freedom, it sounds like an attractive thing to most people. I want personal freedom. Go ask anybody around. Do you want freedom for yourself? Do you want for you yourself to be free? Duh, everybody's going to say, yes, of course. I'm all about personal freedom. But when you push that to its ultimate limits, everybody in society, including all the women, including all the hot, sexy, beautiful, most attractive women in the society, they all have 100% freedom of choice. And They have a lot of choices because the internet gives them a whole lot of choices. It makes it impossible for an unattractive man or even an above average looking man, as long as you're not like an 8 out of 10, if you're not Chad, when an attractive woman has thousands upon thousands upon thousands of options for all these thirsty men that all want the same thing, what are the chances for an unattractive man? The chances are basically, it's not there at all, right? So when you have everybody in society having 100% personal freedom, it sounds like a good thing. And I'm not saying that it's necessarily not. I don't know if any other way of living is better or not. Maybe personal freedom for everybody is the best ideal. But it's like when the forefathers of this country, or whatever you call them, founded this country upon those ideals with personal freedom at the forefront, they did not know something like the internet was going to happen. They didn't even have they weren't even able to conceptualize radio, and that was like the earliest form of mass media. Sure, they had newspapers and stuff, but you read about the Pony Express, right, which was like the beginnings of the postal service in the United States, and it's like that's how they rode horses really fast. That's how they delivered mail. That's how news traveled back then. And that was a revolutionary way of, that was like a technological advancement to ride horses really fast in a chain like that, how they did in the Pony Express. So just thinking about that, that's the speed of information transmission that our forefathers had in mind when they're thinking of these things like, oh, the social contract, personal freedom, allow each man and woman to have ultimate personal freedom. And also, by the way, the forefathers really only meant personal freedom for certain people, and it was only for men, really. I think women weren't necessarily afforded all those freedoms by because women weren't even allowed to vote until like hundreds of years later. So, yeah. My point is just that the social contract is basically like, it sounds nice in theory, and historically maybe it was a thing that actually existed, but nowadays it just doesn't even make sense because a hot woman or a really hot guy can just get on Tinder. They can see like tens of thousands of potential romantic options on the internet, and it's like, obviously, unattractive people, especially unattractive men, are getting the raw end of the deal. Oh, there's ultimate personal freedom. I have the ultimate amount of personal freedom, and I have the internet, so there's thousands of options, not just for romantic partners, but for anything and everything, food, clothing I want to buy, any kind of gadgets, anything, I have the ultimate personal freedom, and it's just like, what has that led to? What has that philosophy led to? It's led to this society, this brutally sick society we're living in, where the modus operandi for how people live their life is consumerism, materialism. Everybody's materialistic. People are ordering Taco Bell through DoorDash. Like, if you can go to the drive-thru, people are paying 2 times the price for Taco Bell, which inflation has already made cost 2 times as much as it did even 5 years ago. And people are paying 2 times that amount. And then even tipping, a person that's not even legally in this country to deliver their food. I mean, what's going on here? Not to go all Tucker Carlson on you, but what is going on? What is going on? The social contract is such a like I said, the concept makes sense, but it's not working. Okay, and it's not working for me, and it's not working for a lot of other men out here. And it's not working for women either. You know, women have it better than men for sure, especially attractive women. You know, the world is their oyster, truly. They can get any guy they want, and they have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of options, romantic options. And then on top of that, you know, they can easily get a guy that's going to financially provide for them. So they have the option to not even work, or if they want, they can work, and there's plenty of affirmative action to go around. It's easy for them to get jobs, and it's easy for them to advance in their career. Again, especially if we're talking about attractive women, it's like they just breeze through promotions, and they don't even have to do a good job because, you know, from the corporation's standpoint, in certain jobs, you know, like think like sales, having a hot woman be the salesperson is probably the best strategy. That's more important than having a guy that like knows the ins and outs of the product. It's better to just have a hot girl to be there like, this is the blender, buy the blender, I'm sexy. You know, that works better. And I don't know if you need salespeople for a blender. That's the first thing that popped in my head. But at this point, man, it's like, why should I contribute to society? You know, I didn't take this car wash job to be a good person. I did it to get my parents off my back. And I did it to earn a little bit of money. But I don't have any expectations for anything good to come out of this other than a little bit of money, which, by the way, is, you know, $11 an hour plus some amount of tips. Like the tips are not that bad. It's better than I thought it would be, but it's still, you know, I haven't done the calculation, but if you add all the tips on top of my wages, it probably equates to something like $16 an hour. That's my guess, something like $16 an hour, which is nothing, you know? And I live with my mom, and that's not enough for me to move out. Not that I wouldn't move out because of the baby, but, you know, that's not enough money for me to move out. And I don't think that necessarily every single job should pay a living wage or whatever the talking point is. You know, if you're working at a car wash, that doesn't necessarily, like, again, and then working at a car wash isn't even really contributing to society. Like, yes, you need to have a clean windshield and clean windows so you can see when you're driving. But aside from that, having a really clean car is just, that's a form of materialism. That's just a consumerist, like, you don't need a shiny car. Your car doesn't need to be shiny. It's just something that is nice to have. It's nice when you can see your reflection in the car door, but like, you know, the people working at the car wash aren't actually really contributing to society. If anything, you know, I'm just making some other guy's Mustang squeaky clean so he can go fuck some thought in it while I get nothing. Except, you know, $11 an hour and the $3 that guy gave me for waxing the hood of his Mustang. And I'm not contributing to society by working at a car wash. And most jobs don't contribute to society. So the point I was trying to make was my parents and some of these comments I've been getting, you know, everybody's acting like, finally, Loser Maxing is contributing to society. He's doing the right thing. This is the morally right thing. And it frustrates me even more when people are acting, this is the right thing. You know, he's raising a baby. This is the right thing to do for that baby. Now he's setting a good example. Now he's doing the right thing. Now he can maybe provide for that baby. And it's like, look, the best thing for the baby would actually be for me to not take this job. It would probably be better for him just to have me be around more often. So I could be here for him, taking care of him, helping him learn and grow, make sure he's getting proper nutrition and getting his diapers changed and everything. Because otherwise, he's either here alone with my mom, which is fine, she takes good care of him, or if my mom is also working at the same time I'm working, which happens, we're trying to schedule things, trying to work out the schedules where we're not working at the same time. So there'll always be one of us to be home with the baby. But, realistically, it's not how it's working out. So usually that means my aunt watches the baby, and that isn't good for him because I don't know why, but she just makes it, he just cries all the time. It's like she doesn't know how to talk to a baby. And it's really surprising too, because she has a daughter of her own, which is the baby's mother. So maybe that makes sense. Because, yeah, she's... Talk about not contributing to society. Imagine giving birth and then not even contributing to the well-being of your own offspring. That's not even very uncommon. And here's the crazy thing. A woman can give birth to a child and just relinquish any duty toward that child, because personal freedom. Personal freedom is the number one ideal. That's the philosophy our whole society is built around. So that allows a woman to give birth and then just give that baby up for adoption, not accept any responsibility, and then she can just go on continuing to, that's the social contract. A woman can just get it impregnated, give birth, give the baby up, not contribute to the future of society, not even contribute to the future generation, that she's adding a person, she's adding a soul, a person to the future generation, but she's not contributing to raising that person into being a good person themselves, or, even just not helping them at all, not contributing at all. But the way the social contract is set up currently, a woman can do that and she can still continue to benefit and receive all the same benefits from society that she was receiving before. She can still get preferential treatment when seeking jobs. She can still, she can turn on the dating apps any day of the week, and there's a new boyfriend for her to completely finance her life. So me, as a unattractive 36-year-old man living in this fucked up materialistic consumerist society where the social contract, theoretically there's some form of social contract there, but the contract is a really, really bad deal. And, guys, I'm working at a car wash. It sucks and it doesn't pay much. Yeah, I got my parents off my back, but don't think I'm a good person or I'm doing this for good reasons. And I'm not saying I'm a bad person. I don't think I'm a bad person, but I'm not working this job to contribute to society. And I don't have any expectations that I'm going to benefit in any way from this stupid job. I already kind of I don't like going into work. I'm actually recording this before going into work. And I don't want to go in. I have that little feeling of dread that I've had with every other job I've had in my life. And I have a bit of a feeling of dread just about having to go in and just I have to socialize to some degree, not that much, but a little bit. And because my coworkers will talk to me, I have to socialize a little bit. And then there's like, you know, the work itself is not that bad, but obviously I'd rather be playing video games or literally anything else. I'd rather just be sitting in a folding chair in my garage doing nothing. So I'm not working this job to contribute to society. I'm never going to contribute to society in any meaningful way. I do my best to help this baby that I care for, to help him learn and understand things. But I mean, I don't know when he gets older, I have no idea how that's going to go. Because right now we're just at the point of like learning words for things, you know. It's the very basic beginning blocks of teaching a baby anything about anything. But I'm not contributing to society. There's no reason to. Nobody should attempt to contribute to society. And yeah, it's just a raw deal. And by the way, I just wanted to say that I got the idea to talk about this topic from another Black Pill YouTuber called Sent My Own Way. He has a channel, SMOW. So that's where I got the idea for this video.